Hey everyone, the following is a brief tutorial about how to get set up with GoSoapBox in your classroom. The setup is pretty easy. Go ahead, open up a web browser and navigate to the website www.gosoapbox.com. You'll be taken to a page, and then following that, you'll want to click on the blue button that says Join Event / Sign In. Now, conversely, you can get straight to this website simply by adding the APP in front of GoSoapBox instead of the www. Now, students and teachers will be signing in to the exact same page. A student will put in an access code over here in order to gain access to an event, whereas a teacher will go ahead and click on the button that says Sign In. So since we're doing the teacher portion of the tutorial, go ahead and click Sign In. Setting up an account is pretty easy, and once you are done, simply go ahead and type in your login information and then click Sign In. Now what you'll see now is a screen that says Your Events. Now think of your events as class periods. So probably the easiest thing to do would be to simply create an event for each of the periods you plan to use GoSoapBox for. Once you have created all of your events in GoSoapBox, let's go ahead and click on a test event to show you some of the features that GoSoapBox has to offer. So for this purpose, we will click on Period 1 under Your Events. Now, once you click on an event within GoSoapBox, you'll notice all the different features that GoSoapBox has to offer. The first feature we'll see on the top here is the confusion barometer. This is a feature where when students log on, they can keep it up and running throughout the class and then toggle between confused or I get it in order to tell the teacher whether they need to slow down, go back, and reinforce the material. Following that, you'll see a tab where teachers are able to create quizzes within GoSoapBox. Quizzes are something more than just simple polls in that they can include more than just one question at a time. And as mentioned, GoSoapBox also has the capability of creating polls. Now, you can create a poll where the question pops up on the student screen, or if you wanted to do polls on the fly, where you thought of something you wanted to gauge feedback in your class about, but didn't necessarily have the time to create, you can go to instant polling. Another feature that GoSoapBox has is discussions. You can post a question and then have your students respond to it. This is great for small group work or things for students to comment on while the rest of the class is doing something else. The last feature is something called social Q&A. Again, much like the confusion barometer, students can have social Q&A up and running and ask questions throughout the presentation without interrupting the flow of the class. So in other words, students can post a question to the teacher while they are talking without necessarily having to raise their hand. Also, other students can see the questions that are being posted. So if a student knows the answer to one of those questions, they can go ahead and answer the question without having to verbally raise their hand and address it. Now that we've seen some of the features that GoSoapBox has to offer, let's go ahead and take a closer look at some of the features that were just mentioned. One of those features is quizzes. To create a quiz, simply click on the Create button. Here you'll be greeted with a little bit of an explanation about what to expect when you create a new quiz. So simply type in a quiz name and we'll call this Tutorial Quiz. And then we hit the Create button. Now, there are a couple buttons that we can use to go ahead and edit our quiz. Change quiz details will simply allow you to change the name of the quiz. Remove this quiz completely, we'll delete it, and then after all of your students have taken the quiz, you can download that data in Excel in order to upload it to your grade book. Now, when we're ready to actually add questions to the quiz, we're going to simply click on the button that says Add a Question. Here it's pretty self-explanatory. We can put the text of the question up in this box, and then if there's any additional information that we need to include for that question, we can go ahead and put it in there. We can also make questions that involve pictures. So if students need to identify places on a map, or particular people throughout history, or pictures of molecules in science, all of those could be added under the image URL. Now, image URL means that you need to put in a website. So if you can find a picture of it online, you can go ahead and copy and paste that link into the text box right there. Please make sure that the web URL that you are pasting ends in .jpg so that GoSoapBox knows that that website is a picture. Now currently there are only two question types that GoSoapBox has to offer: multiple choice and short answer. And then when you are done, simply go to create and it will add that question to your quiz. The next feature we'll cover in GoSoapBox is that of polls. Now, as we mentioned previously, if you have an idea of the exact question you want to ask your class, you can go ahead and create a poll. So all we need to do is click on the button that says create, just like we did for quizzes, and then go ahead and type in all the information that we'll need for our poll. You also have the ability to display the results in a pie chart format or a histogram. Now, you can also toggle whether or not you want your audience to see the results of the poll. So what you might want to do is go ahead and click audience cannot see the results when they start to take the poll, and then go back into the poll and switch it to results are visible to the audience. And when you are done, all you need to do is click on the button that says create poll. Now there are often times in class where a teacher might want to give a poll, or an idea for a poll seems to spring organically based on the discussion that's going on in class. GoSoapBox has a feature called Go to Instant Polling, and if you click on that button, you'll be greeted with a screen that doesn't really have anything on your side, but on their screen, which we'll see later on, it gives them a simple A, B, C, D, or however many choices you tend to have. Now, it won't have any text, so this will need to be something that you verbally say to students, but it at least gives them the A, B, C, D, or however many choices you need to give them so that they can take the quiz immediately and on the fly. The next feature we'll cover in GoSoapBox is discussions. Discussions are useful when extended responses are required of your students. So these could be things such as questions that follow parts of a book or parts of a movie, or anything that requires something other than responding to a poll or taking a multiple choice question. So just like we did with every other feature of GoSoapBox so far, is when we want to create a discussion, all we need to do is click the create button. When we click the create button, again, all we need to do is simply type in the appropriate information. And again, audience visibility is a feature for discussions, so if you do not want to see or have students see each other's responses, go ahead and click on students cannot see replies. Now, if you click on replies are visible to students, students can go ahead and click on that quiz question and reply to each other. And we'll go ahead and see that when we see things from the student point of view. Teachers can also click on sample discussions. I went ahead and created a test discussion and it said, what were your thoughts on the movie? I can click on that and go ahead and add my own reply and add it to the discussion. Perhaps if students are a little slow in replying, or if you saw a particularly interesting reply and you wanted to go ahead and say something yourself. The last of the main features of GoSoapBox is that of social Q&A. Social Q&A is what we call back channel discussions. So, as you, the teacher, are giving a presentation, students can ask questions without disrupting the flow of the lesson. So these aren't necessarily things that you would have to create, but you can. Again, all you need to do is click on Ask a Question, and you can go ahead and pose a question to your class, much like you would if you were using the discussion feature. However, if the social Q&A feature is turned on for students, students can ask questions throughout the presentation, and you can have GoSoapBox up and running so that you can either answer the question directly or leave it up there so that other students can see what questions are being asked and possibly have them respond to students without disrupting the flow of the class. This is great for things where students want to ask how long does a paper need to be, or simple administrative types of things where other students can go ahead and answer that question without interrupting the flow of the lesson. The part of the tutorial that we'll cover now is moderating an event. And again, think of an event as a class period. You don't necessarily need to have or want students to see quizzes, polls, discussions, or social Q&A. You might only need one or two, or maybe you do need all of those. All of those features can be toggled on and off when you click on the Moderate This Event button. So let's go ahead and click on that button and show you some of the features that you'll see in there. Now here, you'll see a screen that tells students what the access code is in order to get to your event or your class. Here, I've named the access code Tigers1. Now, when you first create an event, GoSoapBox will generate a random number for your event. If you would like to change that from a number to something more conducive for students to remember and easier to type in, you can go ahead and click on Change Event Details. So here you can add a custom access code. Here I've typed in Tigers1 instead of the random number that it tends to generate. Now, a really useful feature that GoSoapBox has is whether or not to have students type in their name before they're able to join an event. Now, we all know that sometimes students send in some crazy messages when using texting or polling features. So it might be a good idea to go ahead and click on yes, that names will be required when joining an event. Now, to go ahead and turn that feature on, all we need to do is click on the button that says Enable and Disable Features. And from this button, you pretty much can toggle all the different features that GoSoapBox has to offer. If you want to put the confusion barometer on for students to see on their screen, you can toggle it right there. And again, you can also toggle what students see on their screen based on what you need for your particular presentation. If you're never going to do a quiz or a poll during your presentation, you can go ahead and turn those features off. If you realize later on in the discussion that you want to turn them back on or you want students to see them, you can simply just go into the Moderate discussion section of GoSoapBox and turn those back on, and it will instantly refresh the student's screen. And down here we have things such as a profanity filter. GoSoapBox does have a feature where it tries to scan student responses to see if they are profane or not. There is a math formatting button, so if you're able to type in an equation, it tries to recognize it as a math equation and tries to keep the formatting as close to it as possible. And again, as just mentioned, whether or not you want your students to have their names be entered before joining an event. And here you'll notice that I did toggle some of the features on and off. So not only do students only see what you want them to see on their screens, but you yourself can toggle what you want to see on your screen. So here I decided all I wanted on my screen was the confusion barometer discussions and social Q&A. So again, all I would need to do is go back to the moderate this event button and turn those back on. Now, some of the other features of the moderation panel: you can copy the data from another event, so from another class period, if you will, or you can go ahead and export the data that you have stored in that event to a Microsoft Excel spreadsheet. Now it's time to go ahead and take a look at things based on what the students would see when they navigate to GoSoapBox. Now, again, both teachers and students are going to navigate to the same page in order to get to the event. Now, whereas the teacher would click on Sign In, students would go ahead and enter the access code that the teacher gave them. In our case, it was Tigers1. So students would type in that access code, click on Join Now. Now, on the teacher side, I toggled the feature that said require name upon sign-in. So here, I'm going to type in my name so that the teacher knows who is answering the questions, and then I hit save. Now here, we'll be greeted with all the different things that my teacher has personally toggled on and off on their side of the screen. For this instance, the only things that have been toggled are the confusion barometer, the polls, and the social Q&A. So that's the only thing I'm going to be allowed to see on my screen. Now, the most useful is probably the confusion barometer. So as students are listening to your presentation, they can simply toggle between I am getting it and I am confused. And when they click on I am confused, if you notice back on your teacher screen, it'll automatically update with at least one person is confused. And if we go back to I am getting it, we'll see that no longer are there people listed as confused. Now let's take a look at what each of the particular features of GoSoapBox looks like on the student screen. Now as you notice here, that there's only 3 things listed as we mentioned before. Now, GoSoapBox actually has 2 ways of not having things show up on the student screen. Now the easiest way would be to toggle it on and off, much like we've been explaining this entire tutorial. However, some particular features have a little lock next to them. So you can go ahead and create quizzes and polls and things like that, but lock them so that students cannot see them. So let's go ahead and unlock each of these things so that we can see what they look like from the student side of things. Almost immediately on the student side of things, they are appearing on their screen. So quizzes, when they are ready to take the quiz, they simply click on tutorial quiz and they can start that quiz and submit the question. So here the example question is, what is the capital of Illinois? I can click on Springfield and hit submit. Okay? And then you can also click on I'm done, submit my answers. Now it says your answer was Springfield. This question was not graded. So there are options back when we created our quiz. So if we went to tutorial quiz here, and we went back to our question, what is the capital of Illinois? We can select what the correct answer was. So we could have said Springfield, and it would have told the student right away whether or not they got it right or wrong. Now, that's not possible for short answer questions, but if you wanted your students to get immediate feedback, you can go ahead and set your correct answers in there. So we can hit OK, thanks. Now polls. Again, much the same way, you can create a poll and then have students click on whatever choice they would like, and then submit their vote. And if you want students to see the replies of the poll, you can change how you want them to be displayed on the screen, whether you want a histogram or a pie chart. Now, what's interesting under discussions is that what were your thoughts on the movie? Here's one I, as a teacher, put. I put the movie was so interesting and I really liked the character development. I could go ahead and add a reply to that or to the question in general. And basically, it will keep a running list, much like a thread in the chat room. I didn't like the movie. I thought it was boring. I can go ahead and add that reply, and it would go ahead and add it to the thread. So as you'll notice here on my teacher's side of the screen, I could click on discussions and see all the replies that are coming through from that particular discussion question. Now the last part, social Q&A, again is for back channel discussions throughout the class. Now again, I as a teacher could ask a question, or as a student, I can go ahead and ask a question as well. I can also click on any of the questions that have been asked either by the teacher or other students and provide those answers. So say for instance another student had asked, when is the paper due? I could click on that question and add my reply, and it will go ahead and add all of the replies to that question within that thread. Now, say for instance, someone asked a question that I too wanted to ask. Instead of typing in the exact same question, I can go ahead and hit this little arrow here to add your request to also ask the question, so you don't have to go ahead and type it in again. This is really helpful for teachers because if they see people hitting arrows next to particular questions, they know that they could address that question more directly, stop instruction, and make sure everybody understands what needs to be understood. Thanks for watching this tutorial. Feel free to send me an email should you need any additional help with GoSoapBox, and please review some of the following tips to get the most out of your GoSoapBox experience.